you are finding us here at Heartwood in elevated and wonderful moods. And I'd like to share some announcements before we hear the word of Dharma today. So just a reminder that we have our novena each Thursday, and it starts between 5:45 and 6 p.m. And we'd love for you to join us online at that time if you're able, or you can always watch later on our YouTube page. If you have prayer requests that you'd like to send in, please send those to prayer@heartwoodrefuge.org. We are also transitioning to some new and exciting communication tools, so please stay tuned for more information and updates on that going forward. Retreats and events coming up. Next Friday, March 26th, will be our Friday Fun Night. So we're going to have a really fun storytelling event, something like the Moth. So you can sign up for that on our retreats page. So again, that'll be next Friday, March 26th. Also, we have a Zoom retreat coming up from April 15th to the 18th, Metabolizing Emotion, the Art of Being in Touch with Yourself with Nick Krantz. Instructions drawn from the practice of social meditation, which Nick developed, and will aid the practitioner in taking the benefits of meditation off the cushion and into their daily life. And then also, we have a Zoom retreat on May 15th, Letting Go in 4 Stages with Martine Batchelor. During this online session, we will practice mindfulness meditation to develop our potential of letting go. As always, we really, really appreciate everything that you provide for us here through Donna and donations, and also your support and effort. So we thank you for that. Please, if you'd like to continue to or begin to support us, you can go to the Heartwood homepage and click on Giving, and that option to see what ways you can continue to support us, including our matching dollars donation to help retire our mortgage, Amazon wish lists, our Nuns Fund, and also social projects. And lastly, please, please, please remember to like, follow, and share Heartwood on all social media so that we can help spread the Dharma. Thank you.
So we were having a really good time. When I came in, Sister Shannon was sitting in my chair, and everybody burst out laughing. And we have this thing around here about outing each other, and it's not in a malicious way, but it's in a very lighthearted way. It makes us ever conscious. It makes us mindful. If I have enough time at the end of this talk, I will say a little bit about that kind of mindfulness. It's not the one where we're all wrapped up inside of ourselves, and totally oblivious to everyone and everything going on around us. But it's a kind of right mindfulness. And what's so good about being in a true Dharma community is that we get an opportunity to practice this. We get an opportunity to be on both sides of it. And we learn to laugh at the winds of the world. In the beginning, we're upset about it. And later on, we get resentful about them. But in time, we begin to see how they are not me, and they are not mine, they are not myself. These are ways that we have, but these are the obscurations, the result of obscurations, in our life that produce hindrances to us walking and living the life that we earnestly desire, So I've always said, if you're going to go to hell, go all out, because fire is fire. It's no little fire and a lot of fire. Fire burns completely, whether it's a little one or a big one. But if it would be a shame to devote so much time to our cultivation and to our development, and then let all these little things beset us and cause us to miss the prize. And some will say, well, it's not the destination. It's not the destination, it's the journey. But I'm telling you, the journey is for getting somewhere. So it is definitely the destination. So today I thought we could just reflect for a minute on what it feels like to be welcomed. One of the first practices we have is of cultivating metta, loving kindness. And I always describe, somebody wants a definition for that. I mean, it's like loving being kind. That's what it is. And one can know for oneself whether they love being kind or not. And if they did love being kind, they would seek out opportunities to be kind, and they would take circumstances that would seem to prevent that as a joyful practice for cultivating the thing you want. If I want to learn how to press 100 pounds, I can't hate dumbbells. I have to look forward to that practice when I go. I might have to start with a 2-pounder. I didn't even know there were 2-pounders when at the gym I was in when I had a personal trainer. Yes, I had one. You can tell that was a long time ago. But I thought 5 pounds was the small, the lightest weight. I couldn't even lift a 5 pound. She went out the back and got some 2-pounders. And I like, 2 pounds is a lot. I can tell you, 2 pounds is a lot of weight. I carried my little, not a briefcase, but like a little bag that I have my papers in, and the papers just keep growing and growing and growing in the bag. And I found that when I would go just from the car to the Hermitage, I'd be so winded at the front door, I'd have to sit down and rest. So finally, last week, I weighed the bag. And the bag weighed 20 pounds. At 20 pounds of papers I'm carrying in and out. And the papers never decrease because every day I have something else to do. So more papers go in the bag. But that made me feel, on one hand, that there's a dereliction of duty here because some papers should be coming out of the bag. On the other hand, it made me feel really good because I thought I'm getting so weak I can't even carry a little bag, a little handbag. So we have to start little by little. We can't go, we love Pema Children, and everybody loves her book. They love to read her books, but in actually doing the practice takes a little bit more than that. We can't go to the places that scare us until we go to the places that don't scare us. Most of us haven't even gotten to those places yet. It's just a space of unwillingness. I'm not going to let somebody talk to me like that. Who is she? I don't have to do what she asked me to do. But the Buddha was giving a training, and he taught his disciples to do just that. He said, that's the training. And then when you sit on the pillow, you'll have good results. You don't have to do so much efforting on the pillow if you live and right off the pillow. And so there was a great encouragement to just do certain things and don't do certain things. Not in the beginning, if you can't think of doing it for someone else, just think of your own practice. If you've got to be selfish around the benefits of practice. And so sometimes you don't do something because you recognize that's going to put you in an unwholesome mood or whatever, and so you avoid doing it to keep yourself. It says a wise person keeps himself, and wickedness cannot touch him. If I don't keep myself, I'm open to all manner of unwholesomeness. You can't keep me wholesome, is what I'm saying. I have to do that for myself. And so that's where the confidence in the path comes along, when we're finding that we can restrain ourselves, we can constrain ourselves, we can limit, we can cut off, we can stop. And we stop using excuses. The truth of the matter is, now I'm not talking about true illness in general when the body is sick, but what I am talking about is how mind can affect the body and make one feel not well. So when one is feeling not well every day, I know that there's something going on in one's mind, and it's because he says that this is like poisoning oneself. When one has resentment, when one has animosity, when one has anger, when one has envy, when one has jealousy, all the things that we experience, he said, here's the thing, you're not hurting them one bit. It's just like taking a dose of poison each time. And so every day you got some kind of ailment, not feeling good, and it usually comes up very strongly when you have to get with others, So it's a sure sign to one who is truly mindful. In the classical Dharmic understanding of mindfulness, not just that internal mindfulness where I'm watching thoughts arise, abide, and depart, and say, oh, that has nothing to do with me, but when we are reminding ourselves of our great wish for how we want to live and be in the world, when we are contemplating the joys and the benefits of living a certain way. You don't have to call it Buddhist, you don't have to call it Christian, you don't have to call it Jewish, you don't have to call it Islamic, you don't have to give it any kind of name, but just knowing, having a spirit, energy of hospitality, being hospitable, being gracious, being kind to another, and see what it does for you, see how it affects your life. So I'd like for us to just take a moment and reflect on what it feels like to be welcome. The word simply means to come and be well in my presence. It's not like you're welcome in this place, because the place carries the energy of the people in the place. We use place as a placement for whatever we don't want to own. Then we like in general in this place. But to welcome has the connotation of one being coming, you are well in my presence. It's a fundamental experience, but it's a very crucial one, because it sets the stage for all the other attainment that we can have. One is not going to attain hating and hurting others. It's impossible. It is not possible. So when one thinks that they've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, and when they come to the end of the sentence, there is the meing, then one knows that they vectored off the path. The thing about vectoring off the path and being caught in that particular kind of self-conceit and self-arrogance is that it's hard for one to see. Because they know all of the pithy sayings, they know all of the rules, they know all of the rights, they know all of the procedures, to justify acting in this way, aloof and set apart. But it's really holier than thou. And in all of their knowing, a great insecurity still arises, because the more one knows, the more one is held accountable for. If there were two, one who knows and one who doesn't know, who has the greater weight or the greater responsibility? The one who knows, or the one who says they know. If you say you know, then you ought to show some sign. People should feel safe in your presence. And you should not denigrate, deny, and avoid the presence of others. And when we do, we can just know, oh, there's something I need to look at inside. And then look at it. That's all. It's not a condemnation. The suggestion is a help, not a condemnation. And so this is how we put the Dharma into practice. You know, we take grown-up medicine. You know, like we can just talk about these things. I mentioned on, what day is this? Thursday? Tuesday. Okay. So I mentioned on, I think I see, I see my voice teacher on there, and he's always talking about timeliness, you know, but I can tell you about the clock and knowing, like being someplace exactly at 1 o'clock or 1:30, whatever time my lesson is. I forget every week, because once I have the lesson, that's gone until the next time my calendar says I have a lesson. It's not holding anything inside. It's not being tied down in any kind of way. Half the time I don't even know what day it is. It's just, where do I need to be? Who do I need to see? What do I need to do today? And somebody tells me, and I say, oh, okay. I'm not like, you don't tell me where to go, what to do, how to do. It's like just not holding things in a way, not identifying with them, not setting up any status around it. You know, so if I'm not asking for anything more than what I'm entitled to. So if I paid for that time is mine. You know, so if I missed 5 minutes of it, my bad. I paid for that. That's okay. I'm not upset about it. Don't you be upset about it either. Because it's like weighing everything. If I had nothing to do, I'd be there early. I'm talking about how we're so bound to our structures and bound to our times and bound to our forms and bound to our statuses and bound to our positions. And these are all the things that creep in and bind us, so that when something happens, we don't have the luxury of offering graciousness, because we are so myopic around ourselves. So when you come in, I'm glad to see you whenever you come in. I'm glad for this moment. This moment. Some of us can redeem the time because there's something to say. Like when we start talking, sometimes I say, oh, I wish we'd do more singing, you know, but he's talking to me, you know. But he redeems the time when there's only a little bit left for singing, because he has talked my mind into a certain place that I can easily do, or better, more easily do what he asked me to do. You see? And so if we come with that kind into every place we make an appearance, you know, people will feel at ease. They will feel unself-conscious. And it's the greatest gift you can give to someone. Especially in times like this, when everybody is uptight, when everybody's self-conscious, when everybody's fearful, when everybody's feeling insufficient, not good enough, don't have enough. Just all of this coming at one time, to step into someone's presence. You know, that's what I like about Panadipa. I mean, Panadipa requires absolutely nothing of you. When you walk into his presence, it's just like you're there by yourself, because he requires nothing. He doesn't require you to be good or bad. He requires nothing. So you could, you almost have a hard time deciding what you want to talk about, you know, because he's not directing the conversation, leading the conversation. You just come and stand after, oh, that was good, okay, see you tomorrow. And maybe nothing even, or not much, it seems, was said. So, creating space for another. That's what hospitality is. So when we start trying to abide in metta, it's that, creating space. Sometimes when I'm singing, I'm very constricted in my throat. And my teacher will say to me, you imagine a space right here that's holding up the vocal cord, and just fill that space as much as you can with air. and it's going to give a relaxation it's going to release the constriction there. And then the vocal cords will just do what vocal cords do. And it won't be so much Panyawadi trying to do something, make her vocal cords do something, or create some kind of sound. It'll just flow out naturally. Now, I haven't found that place yet, but I keep looking for it. I don't say, oh, well, it just ain't there. I am who I am, or whatever. I keep pressing into that. But what is it? I'm pressing into the spaciousness that will allow what is naturally there and available for use to manifest. I know he's just really enjoying today, because when we're in the class, he's always giving me back my Dharma talks. So now today I was a teacher. I'm sorry, I'm in a really good mood today. Mostly because I have three conflicting appointments. And Soma, as you know, she's recovering well. She had hip replacement, and she's and she keeps my calendar, and she takes her meds for her hip pain, and I forget to send her commitments that I'm making, and the calendar gets all messed up. And I have 3 today and haven't figured out what I'm gonna do about them yet. I'll just figure it out when the time comes. It's not like tossing a coin, but I'll know in the moment which one is the most important, and I'll tend to it. And I know some people may not be happy with that, but you know, we have to be able to tuck and roll. You know, that's what makes us continue to enjoy, you know, life in spite of its vicissitudes. Just being able to tuck and roll. So there's a Dutch word for hospitality. I was looking up different words, and I can't pronounce this. Gastvrij and it means freedom of the guest. What if we considered each person that comes into our presence our guest? Sometimes my guests they have maybe different habits or different ways of doing things, but I accommodate them because they're my guests. Well, I should say I accommodate if it's a short-term guest. If it's a long-term guest, then we have to get on the same page. But if it's a short-term guest, I can go through something. I can go through something for a little while, can't you? Yes, we can. And it makes us aware of how restless we become when people are not meeting our expectation or not doing what we want them to do. Sometimes they don't even know what our expectation is. Sometimes they didn't know that an expectation was being placed upon them. On the other hand, one who is familiar with hospitality is also closely aligned with its near cousin, which is respect. I mean, the Buddha said, when you come into a place, don't try to sit in the high seat. Don't take the high seat. He said, sit all the way in the back at the low seat. You know, just in case one greater than you comes in and then you're asked to get up and give his chair to somebody else. You know, so he tells us how to prepare ourselves for meeting with others. You know, so on one hand, a spirit of hospitality. You are safe. You are welcome in my presence. And on the other hand, a sense of respect and deference for the other, esteeming the other more highly than oneself. And he says that when we do this, it creates a process inside of us so that we actually become the benefactor of these actions. We become the benefactor. It paves the way. It opens the door for clarity and for realization, for wisdom to arise, because the mind is peaceful and the mind is at ease. The mind is charitable. And there is a kind of bliss that arises. Excuse me. There's a kind of bliss that arises when one is in that state. It affects us bodily. The body is signaled to release certain hormones or endorphins that even further elevate our mood. We become generous, and compassion rises naturally. You know, I'm going to be compassionate. I'm going to be compassionate, but it arises naturally in us because we see no harm or no fault in the other's speech or in their actions. Or if we see fault in it, you know, because we hold the greater seat in terms of meta, then we take no count of it. We're able to hold the container. We're able to see clearly what is precipitating the person's actions. We have a depth of vision. And we have a good idea of how we might sidestep it, or how we might get them back. And I had to meet someone early this morning to look at a space, and I had to drive way out into the country, and they had told me where I could find this person, and he owns a lot of 18-wheelers or what, you know, hider trucks, and so I would go, you know, a couple of times a week, just trying to catch him at his place. And finally, yesterday, someone was there, and he said, "Oh, he's never here." You know, he said, "You have to go out there in the country, like where he lives. We have another huge complex out there." And he gave me directions. And so I went out this morning. And as soon as I opened the door, guess who greets you? A big old punch out of Trump greets me at the door. Like, okay, so I know where I am. I know something about how, you know, a person might think or whatever. So first thing I do, take my hoodie down, because it was raining this morning. I had my hoodie on. First thing I did was I removed the hoodie. And a person came out and he started talking. Now, I really want this space that I'm looking at, you know. And so he said something. I said, "Yes, sir." And, you know, and I talked in that good old Southern hospitality kind of mode. You know, and next thing you know, we were like talking and laughing and talking and laughing. But I knew what things I could say to him that he could understand. I knew what things I could say to him, but he would not understand, you know. But I knew how to govern my speech, you know, and it didn't bother me one bit. I mean, like, I truly, if he has to hear it in a certain way to be at ease with me, I can make him at ease because I'm harmless. I'm harmless. But if he thinks that I'm harmful in a certain way, then, you know, I might have the opportunity to disarm him so he can really get to know the real person, the person behind the face and the image that he sees walking in the door. Because as soon as I walked in the door, there was this. And I said, I'm looking for blah, blah. And he said, "And you are?" And I told him who I was. And I said, I am so glad I finally, he said, well, he's not here right now. I said, that's okay. I'm so glad I finally found the place because I've been looking for him for 3 months. I sent certified letters, no response. I sent, I left messages, no response. And then we just started talking, I was not gonna let this create this in me. There was something, and I just put it to work. Now, that wasn't, I can say that there's been a time when I would be faking. And I can't deny that faking has saved me a lot of times. But now I'm not talking about faking. I'm talking about taking up a practice so that when you are confronted with something, and there were some words written, so it wasn't like just a cutout picture and say like just don't typecast everybody. There were some specific words written on the, cutout as well. And after I read those words, I could have taken offense, but I didn't. That's his view. He's entitled to his view. I have a different view. He doesn't need to know what that is. And so we just had this great conversation. He said, who are your references? Because I live in a place that, they don't run credit reports. They don't, they don't check your financials. They want to know who you know. And so I named 3 people that I thought he would know, and he did know them. He said, oh, great. He said, how about this afternoon? I can meet you there. For 3 months I've been trying to make this connection, But here, after I finally made it, I could have completely blown it up if I had gotten irritated, if I had felt threatened, or if I had aversion. So there's a place that we can come to. And we may not be that way 100% of the time. But when we reflect back on what it felt like when one could be generous in that way, and the confidence that it gives you that the Dharma is in me and it is alive, then we know that this is a practice that has its benefit. So I'm not looking to anyone to give me a benefit from this practice. Are you? I'm not putting a condition or a requirement on anyone to do their own work. I will just decide how much I can give to supporting that, and give that. Don't give more than you can afford to give. Give what you can give graciously. All beyond that is like putting something into a pot and with one hand and taking it out with the other. You don't make ground. But come to one station, work with one thing, or work with one person, your feelings about one person, or work with one way of looking at something in your mind. And I'm not asking you again to change your view, but I'm asking you, can you create a little space in that big box of your view for someone else's to have a little corner of it? And you find that when you give them a little corner, you have not really given up anything. That's the funny thing about this. It seems like giving up, one inherits. And some people try to trick the system, thinking I'm going to do, there was a little boy and he asked could he ordain, and we said, well, why do you want to ordain? He said, because I want to be a monk because I want to have a lot of money. And people give them money and you just give them a little talk and they give you money and they give you food and they give you, and so he had a wrong idea about something. So let us not have the wrong idea about something. Don't think of getting to get. But yet there is that universal law that what we cast out on the water comes back to us, in many days. You could say also in many ways. So it's not always a tit for tat. There's a need I have in my life, I can't fill it. But such as I have, I freely give. What do you have that you can freely give? So I'd like for you to look this week as you go through your day. And I'm asking you to take the courage to take small steps in expanding your own circle of hospitality. That big ball, when pressure pushes against us, it expands outward. And it sustains and it holds you up. It actually gives something to you. And one will find that they're not so overcome by the things that have beset them in the past. They can take it all in stride, the good, the bad. They can see the beautiful in the ugly, and they can see the ugly in the beautiful. Sometimes that seeing the ugly in the beautiful is difficult until one can see the beautiful in the ugly. So looking at oneself, it could be something as simple as, you know how we were standing in line in the grocery store, we're preoccupied, with our thoughts, and sometimes we have a very solemn look on our face, or even a scowl sometimes, when we don't even realize it. The minute we become aware that we've tightened our face and we have a scowl, can we just relax the face? You don't have to grin like a Cheshire cat, just relax in the face. Releases tension and brings a certain ease. It wafts all off of you. And there could be somebody who's really struggling with something. And just to see the serene quality on your face, why do you think people like all these Buddha statues and so forth? They have this kind of, I got a secret kind of smile on face, the little doleful eyes. And they say, oh, when I look at that, that gives me such a sense of peace. Well, get your own peace, just relaxing, recognizing that how your countenance appears to another can have a great effect. You may never speak to them, but just someone encountering you, and you are relaxed, you are approachable, you are welcoming, you are safe, and you're saying to them, they don't have to be afraid in your presence. We are at a place that we look before we get out the car. We look before we open the door. We're looking over our shoulder. But what when someone glances at you? They see a taste of freedom. How that could support one who is troubled. We don't have to always make eye contact. But sometimes we can even make eye contact. And just smiling at a stranger. Sometimes smiling and a slight nod. We don't have to go around nodding at everybody, But just cultivating inside of us this great sense of ease, this great sense of peacefulness, great sense of harmlessness, a great sense of being a welcoming container. It says to everyone, you are safe in my presence. And if we did this intentionally, after a while, we won't think about it. It becomes a habit. The same way as we have some other habits that need to be abandoned. How do you abandon a habit? By laying a new track. And then the old one grows old. The discarded path, the grass just covers that up. And one is no longer walking in that way, they walk in this way. And if you find benefit in it, then you continue in this way. And one gets deeper and deeper into the love walk. So I'd like us to think about it. Just coming back with one thing next week. Smiling at a stranger in a grocery store. Maybe, we can't like really get together much anymore, but someone who maybe moved into your apartment building, and of course they haven't been able to make any friends because we haven't been able to go out, but just tacking a note on the door that says, I know you're here, and when it's safe for us to get together, we will meet. Or leaving a little fruit basket from your neighbor in apartment 101, welcome. Or some things don't cost you much. Some things do cost us. There are favorite charities that I have. I won't say that they're favorite, but my heart was drawn. One is like the children with the cleft lip, because I know it's hard to imagine how they feel with their face so disfigured. And there are doctors that go out and it's prevalent in some underdeveloped countries, and I don't know the cause for it, but a number of children in the population constantly born with this condition. I'm not a doctor, I can't heal it, but these doctors perform free surgery, once a month, and supporting that work, I think it's almost nothing. I don't know, it's $10 a month or $15 a month. So I have a few of those, but then how do you reach out when it's not something that like really hits you? That's the next step. What can you be a part of or contribute to that's not like tied up with your feelings, but you know that it is truly a need? Can one support that simply because we know that it's a need? Do I have to feel it to help? This is how we begin to expand more and more until you get to the place that friend and enemy basically the same. Just depends on how skillful you could be in keeping yourself. Has nothing or not so much to do with them as it has to do with you. So this is an area that we can all grow in, but it helps us to develop the kind of attitude or notion that everyone is kin to us. Not everybody can walk this way, but those who are pressing in to the way leading upward can. Yoda said, somebody said, I'll try. And Yoda said, there is no try. You either do or you don't do. This is the way we speak to us there. Now, we don't speak to other people that way. This is the way we can speak to ourselves, to really establish a mode of self-determination. And we can do it. And then when we see it manifest in our life, we know nobody gave it to us. Nobody did it for us. We find a strength that we didn't know that we had. And we find a peace inside that the world didn't give us, so the world can't take it away. And sometimes we think that we're doing, we're already doing enough. Sometimes we think that I'm not in a place where I can do anything. But if we think about it deeply enough, one way of measuring how genuine and how full our love is to just really examine how far we can extend the boundaries of relationship and who we're willing to be in relationship with. And when these borders reach as far as they can go, we will find that there is no one outside. There'll be no more strangers. All will be welcome in this internal space. And then you'll find that as humans, we still have our moments, right? In our imperfected state. There'll be something said, something done. You know. But there will be more grace present. That someone, oh, never mind about that. You know. Or overlook it, or don't even see it at all. Or saw it and was a little bit miffed and can come back and talk to you about it. And say, and I like it when somebody comes and talks to me about something, you know, because I'm open to hear, but it's just like, don't go and talk to them about it because nothing they can do. They can't help you with me, you know, but come to me and talk, you know. If I have an issue, if I go to you and talk. And you find that the way is open, the way is clear. One can have a tough conversation, you know, and keep it confined not to the people, because that's where the hating temperament emerges. But the understanding temperament keeps it to the issue and can discuss the wholesomeness or the unwholesomeness, the blind spot or the forgetfulness. And it's contained right there with the issue. It doesn't float over and the person feel condemned. And sometimes they can even say, thank you for giving me another way to think about it. I don't at the moment, but I'll certainly look at that. You know, and how wonderful that is when one can restore a sister or brother who's floundering, lost in the sea of self, to throw out a lifeline and pull them to safety. The Buddha said, when you find a teacher that corrects in this way, he said you should stay with them. So I think we're through for today. I thank you for tuning in and being with us. You've given me, on a very hectic day, some stillness and spaces also of self-reflection. And I have to tell you, that sutta, that Nibbana sutta, I keep it close by. Something is happening right now. And he talks about when one is really ready to hear the true Dhamma, not the popular Dhamma, but the true Dhamma. And when there is the true Dhamma available to hear, he said it's a beautiful thing. And we will encounter that dimension. But there is neither earth, water, fire, air, not even sun and moon. There is no self in things pertaining to self. Instead, and right there is Nirvana. So we know that this is a mind state. You know, mindfulness is being consciously aware, but it's so much more than that. Because we're always conscious, except when we're comatose or dead. Even when we are asleep, there is still some consciousness there, a conscious knowing that's below the level of our ordinary awake and walking, talking consciousness. So it's more than that. And every day that we just take up one little thing, it becomes a big thing in the scheme of things, because penetrating one thing opens the door to what's beyond that. And before we know it, we don't have to learn the 84,000 things. We can just learn a few, and like dominoes, it'll just knock over all the other ignorances that we have. And we'll find ourselves fully mature, lacking in no good thing.